Hello, Play the Games, it's Boobity2 here, and welcome back to Play the Game Central, and today I'm joined with Chris. Say hello.
Hello.
There he is, isn't he nice? And we're going to be talking today about this portrait, which is actually found around the map. Now, I did make a video quite a few days ago about what I actually thought that this guy was. I thought he was called, like, Wilfred, because of the gravestone which is in the church, but actually there is a lot more to him than we originally thought, and there was a forum post quite a while ago which talked about Michael Faraday, and this is actually a picture from Google Images. You can actually go onto Google and then Google Michael Faraday, and you will find this picture in particular. And who Michael Faraday is and all that stuff, Chris will tell you all about that, so go on.
Okay, so he's an incredibly famous scientist, one of the most influential people in all of history, and is incredibly important. But what is his input on this map? Why is he here? Well, first off, we have this kind of Old West town, which doesn't really make sense, and there's electricity, you can turn on the power, and there's some lights and stuff which don't make sense. So what my idea is that he once stayed here or lived here. He was English, so I don't know if he ever visited America, so that's one thing that doesn't really make sense in all of this. But when we see stuff like the time bomb, it looks very old. You have the old kind of pocket watch style, and you have this town that's kind of powered by electricity, which doesn't make sense. So my idea was he was more advanced than we may know about in the real world, which is, you can't really say that because he's one of the most influential people ever, incredibly important. But if we were to put it into a story kind of thing, let's say he was a bit further ahead of his time than we thought, and let's say he created some of these crazy stuff like a time machine, because it looks like from around that time it would make sense. And there's always that idea of you can only go back in time as far as the first time machine. So let's say as a way to try and fix the kind of bad story writing of traveling in time, you have a limited space of time, and this is as far back as we can go. He was the first person to create this time machine, so we can only go back from this very first point, and that kind of puts a cap to how far we can go back on the story. And going back any further wouldn't make sense, as there wouldn't be any guns or anything really interesting anyway. So my idea is this could be the kind of very beginning of the story, even though it might not directly link to the story very much, but because he could have been the first person to come up with this time machine, it's kind of the start of the time, and that's why it's so close to the rift, because as you know, the rift is caused by the world being blown up, and we have all these kind of pockets of time everywhere. So the reason it's so close to the rift is because it was literally the first example of messing with time, and that's just my idea. And also his wife may have been killed for being a witch after he died. Like, the ghost could be his wife, and they thought she was a witch because of all the crazy inventions, and they killed her for thinking that she was a witch. So I like it when they put in these little real-world kind of story to the whole zombie story. It's kind of interesting. I don't really see why else he would be here.
Well, there are also other things, like he used to work in, or he didn't used to, obviously, well, yes, he used to, but he worked with electromagnetism, electrochemistry, all that kind of stuff. And there was, I think it is in the forum post itself, that that he could have been the first person to invent the perk drinks, and the very first perk drink that we can actually think of would be Electric Cherry and Mob of the Dead, and that was obviously in the 1930s area. And it's electricity, and it does fit that time area, and that's one theory that someone had about that, because he just worked with electromagnetics and electrophysics and electrochemistry and all the electric stuff. And also the orbs tactically placed around the map, they also might have been some kind of protection, which they might have implemented with Maxis's help, because there was also in the forum post that perhaps Maxis and him visited each other, or in time or space or something like that, so that Maxis predicted that this would happen, and so he set up defenses and stuff like that around the town. Or it could be Richtofen, because obviously Richtofen has been more in and out of time than Maxis has, and the orbs are primarily used for Richtofen's side, because on Maxis' side of these three you have to destroy them, whereas Richtofen you have to power them and amplify them, and that's what their purpose is. But Michael Faraday, everyone, lovely man, and he looks nothing like a douchebag at all. But he could have been the owner of this house, and he could have invented the time bomb. He could have invented the electricity in this kind of area, because, you know, it's 18th century and there's electricity in a power switch and all that stuff. And it's very interesting. So that's all we have for you today. Pretty much you can just take that ghost story explained video and just shove it down the toilet, because apparently that's completely nothing now, because we do have real life links now which do make sense. So if you do have anything that you'd like to say in the comment section, then please go ahead and do so. And Chris, say goodbye.
Goodbye.